This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Sean Preston.
Hello, welcome everybody to the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have a great neighbor on with us, and that is Jillian Whitfield of Hounds. How are you, dear?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing, Sean?
I'm doing pretty good. Had a nice little weekend. I decided to marinate whole chicken for about 24 hours and then cook them on the coal barbecue. So I'd say supper was pretty yummy last night. So.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, it was a nice day yesterday. And then in the evening or later on in the afternoon, it started to rain. So that wasn't very fun, but it was a really nice temperature. That's for sure.
Oh my God. I had a coffee on the deck in the morning. It was absolutely
yeah.
Who was that pooch there? I saw a little.
So that was Shadow. That's actually not my own personal dog, but he is boarding with me for the week. So he's here and he is, he's a little needy, but I mean, that's okay. He's very sweet and very cute. He just all of a sudden heard me start kind of talking and, and he can hear your voice. So I think he wants to know what's going on. So
yeah, came over to say hello. What's up?
Yes.
All right. So our listeners, I know and have had the pleasure of sitting down and getting to know you and your business a little bit more on a personal level. But for our listeners who don't, why don't we dive right in? Why don't you tell us a little bit more about your business?
Yeah, so I am the owner of Hounds. It is a dog hiking, walking, drop-in service, as well as I do in-home boarding in my house. So the boarding environment isn't your typical kennel. It's basically the dog. What I always tell people, the dog becomes a guest in my home. So I treat them just as my own dog would do in my home. They sleep on the couch. They can go on my bed. So it's a lot of fun. All the different aspects I get to kind of see your dogs do. I like to be able to provide all the different types of services because I know all dogs are different, just like people. And so they have different needs. So, yeah.
Different needs, different personalities.
Absolutely.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So you've got like a bunch of different kind of arms, branches to your business. Mm-hmm. How often are you getting out there on hikes? Are you out there every day or?
Yep. So every day, 7 days a week, I do 2 hikes a day. And one in the morning, one in the afternoon. Again, I like to kind of, as my business started to grow, I started to understand that, again, all people work in different environments, have different schedules. And so providing only one hike or one time of a walk per day is maybe just, it kind of takes my client base from large to small. So I wanted to be able to provide as much times as I could so that I can, have a wider range to people in Barrie. So, yeah, so I have the hikes, which are 2 hours. I take your dog out into the Simcoe County forests and we go hiking. And those are off leash. So your dog is off leash and able to kind of explore and roam. Now, for the dogs who either can't do that or just have behavior issues that don't allow them to be social with other dogs, that's why I provide those leashed walks. So those would be around your neighborhood or something like that. So, yeah.
Very nice. And you also offer in-home services. So can you maybe talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So again, for the dogs who maybe those hikes or those walks are a bit too much, I what I call check-ins or potty breaks. So right now I have two dogs who are 13 and 14. And so they don't necessarily need a ton of exercise during the day, but they maybe need to empty their bladders. And so I come into your home and I just let them out in their backyard, allow them to kind of have a bit of social time with me. And then I say goodbye to them and I see them the next time. So it's nice for those dogs, again, who either don't thrive on the walks, they maybe don't need them, or that's just the choice of the owner. So
very cool. So did you kind of wake up one morning when you were super young and decided that this is something that you wanted to do? Everybody's got their own journey, and it seems to be pretty unique across the board. So I wanted to ask you what your journey was like to getting into doing what you're doing.
So as probably a lot of people who get asked this question in the pet industry start by saying, I've always had a love for animals, always had my own animals, always wanted tons of animals when I grew up. I actually thought about working with exotic animals. So I spent 2 years of my time working in South Africa. I worked with, a bunch of exotic animals. So lions and cheetah and leopard. It was really, really fun. And that was honestly something that I was like, okay, this is my path. I'm going to do this. And then my dad got ill. And so I actually had to, I made the choice to come back to Canada, still with that passion. So I actually thought about, okay, I'm going to work with wild exotic animals of the Canadian kind. So yes, okay, I'm not going to be working with, your cheetahs and lions, but obviously there are tons of, there's wolves, coyotes, all types of deer, things like that. It's unfortunately different here in Canada than it is in a place like South Africa. Unfortunately, the places, like a local one to us is the Bear Creek Exotic Animal Sanctuary. Now, they do have exotic animals, but unfortunately, they run mostly on volunteers. And it's hard to kind of make money in that sort of environment.
For sure.
And unfortunately, as much as I would have loved to just volunteer my life away, that's just not the way the world works. So what I ended up doing is finding jobs and joy in our pets, our domesticated animals, mostly, obviously, dogs. And I was very lucky to start my business right as COVID hit. So that meant I was one of the lucky ones who didn't really have an established business. So in terms of losing clients, customers, things like that, that wasn't the case for me. So I actually took that time while the world was basically at a standstill to learn about how to work in a business, and to kind of explore that area. So meeting all the amazing people here in our community in Barrie, just all the people who support local, all the help you can get, all the people that are out there wanting to help you grow your business and wanting to help you answer questions and things like that. So, and then once the world started opening up a little more, I was able to kind of, I had the tools to know how to reach those clients that I wanted to. So that was a lucky part of the timing that I had. I feel for those businesses who, they went through a lot of hard times during COVID, and I'm one of the lucky ones that kind of escaped that. So, yeah,
there are definitely a lot of businesses that got the wrath from COVID, and then, like you 100%. Said, the lucky ones that either their type of product or service was something that excelled. And I'm pretty sure a cute little silver lining for you as well, because a shitload of people got pets in the pandemic too, so that probably helped, I would imagine.
100%. Yeah, it's a lot of people got pets, and then when they went back to work, they weren't 100% sure what they were going to do with those, and so services like mine stepped in and said, "Yeah, I will help you out." And I think honestly, it boomed this type of the pet care service of any kind, which is amazing, because it's it's a industry that I think sometimes is looked upon as maybe not professional or not really, like, more of a hobby, more of something that, can't sustain you. And that's just simply not true. It's quite cool to kind of prove people wrong in that sort of sense.
One of my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
Would that be would that be a misconception or a misnomer in your
Yeah. And another big, huge misconception is, going along with that, people don't think people in the pet care service are qualified. They think we're just like random people coming off the street and deciding one day, oh, I want to go walk dogs. And, obviously there are some people that do that, but most of us come from backgrounds of either tons of experience, or I know some dog walkers who were at one point vet techs, or worked in veterinary offices to some degree. And they just didn't get any joy from that anymore. And so they decided to work with animals rather than in a vet place where sometimes, you're dealing with the not nice things of pet care, right? So
yeah, for sure. It's like a paramedic, right? I mean, you're doing really good stuff. You're saving lives and helping people, but you're not necessarily seeing the joy in
right.
the lighter side of life from that perspective. Usually somebody in distress or in a life situation. So I hear that a lot on the show.
And I mean, it's not to say that obviously we need vets, we need vet techs. Those people do amazing work, and I mean, we need them. But it takes a special person, just like you said, with the paramedics or nurses or doctors. It takes a special person to do something like that. And I commend everyone who does that, because that's not me. I'd rather, I'm when I worked in South Africa, everyone said, well, what do? You just, clean up poop and clean the animals' cages. And I would always say, yeah, I guess I do that. But I also get to spend time with the animal. They know who I am. They recognize my voice. And it's the same again with our domesticated pets, our dogs. It brings you so much joy to walk into your client's home or to see them on a walk, and they turn around and they just give you the biggest smile. And you're like, wow, like I'm making their day. And that's a pretty cool thing. So, yeah.
So were you like full on in a cage, like face to face with the king of the jungle, or what?
So for the lions, unfortunately, yes, as much as they were in a captive area because of some sort of thing that happened to them in the wild, they still have that instinct. People, we don't want them to be super domesticated to people. So those bigger cats would have to be separated from us, but they would be face to face with us through a fence, and they would allow me to pet them and rub them. Now, like an animal, I loved the honey badgers. Those were my favorite animals. And those guys I would pick up and carry, and, they were goofy and silly. So the smaller ones, yes, we were able to touch, but no, I still wouldn't even though I saw that lion every day, my back was turned. No, I don't think he'd think twice about trying to bite of me. That's for sure.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I remember one time I was at the Elmvale Zoo, and I was like probably maybe like 14 or 15. So I was just, like a young punk thinking I was, pretty tough, walking up to the lion cage, and I roared at the lion, and then he roared back at me. He scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, I imagine.
humbling moment for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do that for future. For listening to the show, not a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, please don't do that. It will scare your child, that's for sure. But yeah.
So with the boarding in your business, not really an off switch because you're typically always with animals. So normally I say, hey, when you're not working in your business, which typically you are, what do you like to do for fun?
So yeah, I mean, like you said, pet care, especially any sort of overnight boarding, is a 24-hour job. If I didn't love it, I definitely wouldn't do it. But I absolutely love spending time with animals. You know, I've always been one of those people that prefers animals over humans. And so, you know, maybe when I was 20, 21, a fun Friday night to me would be going to the bar and having a few drinks. But now a fun Friday night is going out in my backyard and watching the dogs play for an hour. And then we go inside and we have a sleep. And yeah, so basically when I'm not working, I'm still with animals. I'm still, you know, having them enjoy their life, and it fulfills me. So it's kind of a win-win situation. So
Very cool.
yeah.
When you're up in the trails there, you always kind of typically stick to the same trail, or do you like to try different trails when you're in the Simcoe County Forest?
Yes and no. It just kind of depends on where we are that day. Because I service all of Barrie, Barrie is growing massively and it's pretty crazy. So sometimes I'm more in the south end of Barrie or the northeast end of Barrie or something like that. It just kind of depends. But I mean, we do have our favorites, especially in the summer. We tend to hit the ones that have a lot of water. You know, to not only keep the pups cool, but it's also a lot of fun to watch them again in the water. But yeah, it's we definitely have our favorites. That's for sure.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So sometimes in life we get kind of put on a path, or we pick one and we try to stick to that because we think that's the best path for us. And then life kind of comes in and it decides to pull or push us in a particular direction, and we gotta have to face adversity, life challenges, stuff like that, adversity. And so I wanted to ask you if you've ever faced a hardship or a life challenge that you overcame, maybe found a silver lining or two from it.
Well, a huge blow, I think, to anyone who loses someone. I lost my dad. It'll be 6 years now. I lost him 6 years ago, and that was a huge thing for me. My dad was always one of those, or a person who was a biggest supporter of mine. I always like to call myself the black sheep. I was always the one who never really knew what they wanted to do with their life, who had so many different paths that they wanted to go down, so many things that I loved, and I didn't know which one to go down. And maybe if I chose the one a little less traveled, some people would maybe look at me and think I'm crazy, but my dad was always the one who supported me no matter what. So it was quite hard when I lost him. And this was even before I started my business, but to not have him here when there were so many questions, or there still are, that I want to ask him, because he was always good with numbers, and he was a math teacher. So he was always good with numbers. Okay. And he always was very organized, and I always would bounce my ideas off him. And when you don't have that, it's tough. It's really hard. And sometimes you just want to say, oh, I wonder what dad would think of this, or I wonder, he'd probably have an answer for this, you know? So yeah, that was tough. But again, as anyone who's lost someone is going to tell you, it changes you in hopefully good ways. You know, it was tough for me for a while, but I don't think I'd have the resilience to start my business if I didn't have, you know, my dad watching over me. That's for sure. So.
Oh, for sure. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
What's one thing that you wish our listeners knew about your business?
That I am not just someone who comes and takes your dogs out for a hike or a walk and leaves them and goes about my day. Your dogs become a part of my entire world, my huge family. My heart grows bigger and bigger every day. And I just want people to know that Happy Hounds is maybe not your average dog walker, that the care that we put into our animals is pretty intense, and the love that we give to them is something pretty special. So.
And having known you, I could echo that sentiment as well. It's a pretty nice mic drop to end the show. For those who are interested that want to reach out, find out some more information, what's the best way that they could reach you?
So probably our best way to reach us is through our socials, most notably Instagram. Instagram is also, and Facebook, but Instagram is also a way to kind of dive into our life a little bit. We post daily stories on what your dogs are doing. We post videos of them. It's not very hard to have our to put things on our socials, because it's just dogs playing and enjoying their life. And so, Instagram, email, or Facebook, or you can give me a call or text. And I mean, pretty much anything, we will answer your question and try our best to help you out with your pup. So
what's your social handle?
So it's at happy.hounds.co. That is
Beautiful.
Our social. And then Facebook is just Happy Hounds. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. Great person, great business. And looking forward to doing this down the line.
Yeah, for sure. It was so nice to chat with you. Thanks so much.
No worries. We'll talk soon.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com, or call 705-413-3775.